I never thought my marriage would unravel the way it did. Looking back now with the clarity that only hindsight can bring, I see how the signs were always there. Small cracks in the foundation that I ignored, telling myself everything was fine, that we were fine. Zachary and I had been married for 4 years. On the surface, we lived what most would call a stable life. A cozy little home with a worn-in couch and coffee mugs that didn't match. To steady jobs, predictable rhythm that offered security even if it lacked spontaneity. We weren't one of those picture-perfect couples you see online. We had something steady, something real, or so I thought. But beneath that comfort, something unspoken simmered. A tension I didn't fully grasp until everything fell apart. It all began, though maybe the beginning was much earlier, with Austin. Austin had been my friend since college. Over a decade of history, we'd pulled all-nighters during finals, cried on each other's shoulders during breakups, laughed until we were breathless over the dumbest inside jokes. And yes, there had been a brief romantic moment years ago. Fleeting kiss, a short-lived fling that fizzled as quickly as it began. It was never serious, and in my mind, it had long since been buried under years of platonic friendship. To me, Austin was a constant, a grounding presence, familiar, reliable, harmless. But to Zachary, he was something else entirely, a threat. At first, Zachary never voiced any real concerns. He was polite when Austin came up, even friendly on the few occasions they met. But over time, I noticed things. The subtle shift in his expression when Austin's name came up, the way his jaw would clench just slightly when I laughed at something Austin texted me, the stillness that would settle over him when I told a story from our college days. I brushed it off. I told myself Zachary was being irrational, insecure. I was married to him, not Austin. I dismissed his feelings as jealousy he'd eventually grow out of, but I never truly listened. The turning point came when Austin invited me on a trip to Myrtle Beach. It wasn't some secret rendezvous. It was a group vacation. College friends reuniting. For a nostalgic weekend of sun drinks and shared memories. I was excited, craving a break from the monotony of everyday life. A little escape. When I brought it up to Zachary, I expected maybe a shrug or even a reluctant sure. But instead, his reaction was immediate and ice cold. "You're not going," he said. His voice was flat, but the steel in it startled me. I laughed, thinking he was joking, but the look in his eyes told me he wasn't. Laid it all out. How he didn't trust Austin's intentions. How the history between us made him uncomfortable. How he felt like our friendship blurred too many lines. He said he tolerated it for years. But this trip crossed a boundary he wasn't willing to ignore. I was furious. Who was he to dictate what I could or couldn't do? I prided myself on my independence. His reaction felt controlling, possessive. I argued back, insisting it was innocent, that I deserved a break, that he was overreacting. Then came the ultimatum. "If you go on this trip," he said, "don't expect to come back to the same marriage." I wish I had paused then, really paused, and thought about what he was saying. But instead, I saw it as a challenge, a line in the sand I was determined to cross. I packed my bags that night, kissed him goodbye with a stubborn edge in my voice, and I drove to Myrtle Beach. The trip started exactly how I imagined. Laughter echoing across the beach, familiar faces, clinking glasses, catching up like no time had passed. Austin and I slipped easily into our old rhythm, teasing, joking, confiding in each other like we used to. But somewhere between the sunset and too many cocktails, things shifted. One night, we found ourselves alone on the balcony, the others inside laughing over a drinking game. The moonlight danced on the waves below as Austin and I talked about the past, about how things might have been different. His eyes lingered a little longer than they used to. When our hands brushed, I didn't pull away. He leaned in, not for a kiss exactly, but something in between, and for a moment, I froze. I didn't kiss him, but I didn't stop it fast enough either. I told myself it was nothing, just a drunk moment swept up in nostalgia. But my heart knew better. The next day, still caught in the haze, I made another mistake. Austin and I posed for a picture on the beach. Me in a bikini, him with his arms slung casually around my waist.
Oh.
our smiles wide and careless. I posted it on Instagram with a thoughtless caption, "Living my best life." I didn't think about Zachary. Didn't think about how that image would hit him like a gut punch. Didn't think at all. When I got home, the silence was deafening. Zachary's car was there, but his presence was not. The closet was half empty. His keys were gone. So were most of his things. I called him in a panic. When he finally picked up, his voice was flat, almost emotionless. "I'm done, Paisley," he said. "I saw the picture. I told you what this would mean." I stumbled over excuses, said it wasn't what it looked like, and nothing happened. But he cut me off. Chose him. "You humiliated me. You made a mockery of us." And then he hung up. I stood there staring at my phone, the weight of it all crashing down like a tidal wave. The fallout was immediate and merciless. Friends, family, people I barely knew. Texting, commenting, judging. "Did you really think that was okay? That photo was beyond disrespectful? How could you do that to Zach?" I deleted the post, but it was too late. The damage was done, and Austin, whatever spark had flickered on that balcony, died. The second reality returned. There was no grand affair, no stolen romance, just a few blurred lines and a lifetime of regret. When Zachary finally came back weeks later, it wasn't to reconcile. It was for closure. He looked different, tired, older. His voice cracked when he spoke. "I trusted you," he said. "I told you how I felt, and you didn't care. Wasn't asking you to give up your friends. I was asking for respect, for boundaries, and you threw that away." I tried to apologize, tried to say I didn't mean to hurt him, but he wasn't listening anymore. He walked out, and this time he didn't come back. In the months that followed, I was left alone with my thoughts, my guilt, and the echoes of every decision that led me here. I replayed every moment. Every time I dismissed his concerns, every time I chose defiance over empathy, I thought I was fighting for freedom. But in reality, I was tearing down the one person who loved me most. Zachary started therapy. I heard through mutual friends it helped him rebuild. He filed for separation. I didn't contest it. How could I? I broke something sacred, something I can't ever repair. Looking back now, I see it all so clearly. It wasn't just a photo or a trip. It was every moment I didn't listen. Every chance I had to choose my marriage and didn't. And Austin, he faded back into the background. We don't talk anymore. There was never a happily ever after there. It's just a moment that cost me everything. Zachary's gone and I'm left with the painful, humbling truth. Love isn't about pride or defiance. It's about respect, boundaries, trust, and I lost sight of